Good afternoon or evening, not good morning. My name is Gary Darnell. I'm City of Salem hearings official. For the record, it's 5:30 on Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. This evening we have one hearing on the docket. This hearing concerns a consolidated application for a conditional use permit and property line adjustment for an existing church at 3295 Ladd Avenue, Northeast in Salem. The applicant is Hayesville Properties LLC and Oregon Conference Adventist Churches, represented by Ms. Brittany Randall of Brand Land Use. This is case number CU-PLA-06. The approval criteria can be found in SRC 240.045, sub A, sub 1 and 3. SRC 240.005 sub D and SRC 205.055D. And the staff will go into greater detail on these approval criteria. Let me take the official notice that Ms. Randall is an expert in these hearings, so I'm going to cut through a lot of my normal introduction and just hit the high points that are required by the code. First, are there any objections to the jurisdiction of the hearings official? There are no objections. I'd like to point out that you need to raise any procedural or substantive issues at this hearing, or if appealed to the Planning Commission before the Planning Commission. Failure to do so will preclude your ability to raise those issues on appeal before the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeal. The burden of proof, the ultimate burden of proof, lies with the applicant to show that all applicable approval criteria have been satisfied. You have the right to request that the record be held open 7 days. It is held open. It will probably be held open for additional time to allow other parties to respond to any new evidence presented into the record. As usual, the applicant gets the last word in rebuttal. You also have the right to request a continuance. That's discretionary with the hearings official. You need to demonstrate why merely holding the record open a certain period of time is not adequate to address any procedural errors or problems that you need to raise. We record these proceedings. I ask that when you testify, use the podium next to staff, and as a prelude to your testimony, please identify yourself with your name. After staff presentation, there'll be an opportunity for the applicant's representatives to testify, then others in the audience who wish to testify in support. Following that, there'll be an opportunity for any representative of the neighborhood association. Following that, others who wish to testify in opposition. And then finally, those who wish to remain neutral, might want to raise a question, to make a statement, but would rather not be identified as being either pro or con. At the conclusion of all that testimony, I'll turn to staff and see if staff wishes to address any issues or questions raised. And then there'll be a final opportunity for rebuttal or summary by the applicant's representative. After the record closes, I begin my deliberations. I will issue a decision normally within a week. Anyone who has standing has the ability to appeal my decision to the Salem Planning Commission. You need to do so within 15 days of when the written decision is made. The appeal will be de novo so that you can raise any new issues of law or fact before the Planning Commission. Finally, the Salem Code requires that the decision maker in these matters be impartial. We take this opportunity to indicate that I add no ex parte context, nor do I have any actual or potential conflicts of interest. At this time, members of the audience may challenge my impartiality. Hearing no challenges, I will ask staff to present the staff presentation. Ms. Peterson.
Good evening. Mark. Good evening, hearings officer. My name is Abigail Peterson. I'm a planner 1 with the City of Salem Planning Division, and I'm here to present conditional use and property line adjustment CU-PLA 2406, located at 4625 Gordon Road Northeast. At this time, I would like to submit the staff report with its attachments and this presentation into the record. The applicant has requested a consolidated application for a conditional use permit and property line adjustment. A religious assembly use is a permitted special use within the religious residential agriculture zone. The conditional use permit is required to deviate from the special use standards to allow the religious assembly use on a lot greater than 2 acres in size with less than 250 square feet of frontage on a collector or arterial. The property line adjustment increases the size of the lot housing the religious assembly use from 4.71 to 4.77 acres. Here is an aerial overview of the site showing the properties and their current configuration located within the northeast portion of Salem. Tax lot 2100 abuts Gordon Road Northeast and is developed with an existing church building. Tax lot 2000 is currently undeveloped. Both properties are part of a recent subdivision proposal approved under subdivision adjustment 24-02, which proposes a residential subdivision on the vacant areas of the properties after the property lines are adjusted, separating the church on its own lot. The properties are zoned residential agriculture within the Salem area comprehensive plan designation being developing residential. The properties abut city limits. Marion County land is shown here as aerial photos not colored in, and are zoned urban transition 5 and exclusive farm use. The properties are also adjacent to city zone properties, RM1, multifamily residential to the north in tan, PE public/private education to the west in blue, and other RA residential agriculture properties to the south in red. The cumulative area of the development site is 8.45 acres. With 1 point of established access from Gordon Road Northeast. Tax lot 2100 has approximately 190 feet of frontage on Gordon Road, which is a designated parkway. As described in the staff report, all applicable standards of the property line adjustment have been met if the conditional use permit is approved. The property line adjustment was requested to alter existing property lines between 2 properties under different ownership, shown in yellow, to the new line shown in red. A net of 0.06 acres is being transferred, resulting in tax lot 2100, which houses the church, being 4.7 acres in size. This does not affect the operation of the existing church. The request to deviate from the maximum lot area of 2 acres for the special use standards that apply to religious assembly uses in the RA zone has been reviewed for conformance with the conditional use approval criteria. Changes in the existing church's operation is not a part of this proposal. As previously indicated, a recent land use decision, subdivision adjustment 24-02, approved a subdivision to the west of a portion of the south of the adjusted tax lot 2100. This requires the moving of the property lines for the boundary of the subdivision. The new residential uses will be adjacent to the existing off-street parking and vehicle use area for the church. In order to provide a buffer between the proposed residential uses and the existing off-street parking area, staff recommends that the condition that the applicant apply for a landscape permit showing how they meet type A landscaping for the 5-foot setback between the property line adjustment and the vehicle use areas prior to recording the property line adjustment deeds. As discussed in the staff report, the impacts will be minimized through the recommended condition and will have minimal impact on the livability and appropriate development of the surrounding properties. As required, notice was provided to the property's neighborhood association, Northgate Neighborhood Association. At this time, no comment has been received from the neighborhood association, from the public, or from public agencies. Staff recommends that the hearing officer approve the conditional use permit and property line adjustment consolidated application, subject to the recommended condition of approval. This concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from the applicant's representative at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Hearings Officer. My name is Shelby Gizar, and I am the project manager with Brand Land Use. I am representing the owners of the subject property being discussed this evening. Which is this slide. Sorry. A lot of this presentation is similar to what Abigail has already gone over, but I will keep it short. SRC 700.055 limits the religious assembly use to 2 acres when the lot has less than 250 feet of frontage on an arterial collector, requiring us to apply for the conditional use permit and bringing us together this evening. The provision, as we understand it, was introduced due to a church in the 80s and 90s consuming too much residential land. We believe that this proposal meets the purpose of the limitation, even with the 2,600 square foot increase, because it allows an approved residential development to proceed. As Abigail mentioned, the subdivision approval and her staff reported in her presentation tonight. As you can see on these images, which are slightly different than Abigail's, but the main property, the church property, tax lot 2100 is 4.71 acres. Through this property line adjustment and approval of the conditional use, the resulting size will be 4.77 acres, which is that net change of approximately 2,600 square feet. And I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
I do have one question. Is the applicant supportive of the staff condition that's recommended?
It's a pretty typical condition, so yes.
Okay. Thank you. Excuse me, I guess I do have one other question. Do you have that presentation that you can present to staff so that it gets into the record?
Yeah, I provided it to Zach earlier today.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others who wish to testify for the applicant? I see no one else available to testify. Does staff have any final comments? Any rebuttal? If not, why don't we close the public hearing and we'll have a decision out at the latest early next week approving the conditional use and the property adjustment.